So
season and the Helltide.
Just a few
Let's
things
get
to
into
cover.
it.
So as you mentioned, the players who joined us from the PTR or caught all the various like blog and video posts and whatnot know that with Season 4, we're introducing permanent upgrades to the Helltide experience. Heavy focus on improving and enhancing, I guess, monster density and activity variety. So there's a ton more things to do in the Helltides, and as a result, there's just tons more
new
monsters
boss, too.
to mow through in the Helltides.
The Hell Maiden.
There's also some explorations, and just to double back real quick, these are all permanent across both the seasonal and Eternal Realms, so they're not going away once Season 4 ends. This is just how Helltide
part of the
works.
game.
Yep.
Kind of like our item updates too, right?
Yeah.
It's
Show me that
forever.
season mechanic.
Yeah, this is
I want to see
Sanctuary.
that.
But there's also, if you kind of look at the top right of the screen, the threat system. So the longer you're fighting in the tides, you're going to be accumulating threat, which just results in even more monsters ambushing you at higher frequencies than monster packs. I think the personal favorite, and I think like fan favorite, is the Hellworm. You know, this giant demon slug bug that just pops out from the ground and just vomits monsters all over you. But you know, kind of with all those, the seasons, as we say a lot, are an amazing opportunity for experimentation. And sometimes the best results of those experimentations are when they can inspire permanent upgrades and just enhancements to the base game as a whole. So that's where the Hellborn and the new Accursed Ritual and Blood Maiden come into play as part of the new Helltide experience. Yeah, look at those. Those look rad. So the Hellborn, as our Season 2 players might recall, we introduced the Bloodseekers. And those were really cool monsters based on class archetypes. So you're kind of like fighting vampiric shadow versions of yourself. And we take a look at that content, and we just love it from like the team perspective, and just find like, hey, we're upgrading the
they're actually
Helltides.
challenging.
This is a perfect piece of content to just include with it. So that's where the Hellborn came into play. You know, they're fallen heroes of Sanctuary. They've been overtaken by the corruption from Hell and, you know, kind of turned against you. Kind of in line with that, the Accursed Ritual and the Blood Maiden. In Season 2, with the Bloodlures and the Bloodseekers, we introduced this concept of, I guess, calling it just like open world social boss summoning. We followed up with like the there's a buzz right there.
it's very catchy.
Rolls right off the tongue. I love it.
I get into my designer speak sometimes, but and we followed that up with like the Malthus spawners in Season 3. And again, looking at these really successful experimentations from previous seasons, we love opportunities to bring players together and just add that extra layer to the Helltide experience. So that's where the Accursed Ritual comes into play. So as you're out fighting against the tides, you'll be collecting the new material, the Baneful Hearts, that you can bring to the Accursed Ritual. It takes 3 to summon up the Blood Maiden. And you can do this, you know, by yourself, or you can partner up with some buddies and all, I guess, contribute to the summoning together. And, you know, the Blood Maiden itself is our new Helltide mini-boss, that she's immensely powerful, but also very, very lucrative. And I think the last thing I forgot to mention is that this is all expanding into World Tiers 1 and 2 as well. And kind of like a distilled, not diluted. So the Helltide in World Tier 1 and 2 is more specifically tuned to, you know, I guess like meet the leveling needs, or the needs of the leveling player.
Awesome. Oh, on the Blood Maiden, I remember you had talked about with me before that the people that summon the Blood Maiden actually get bonus loot drops, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can either contribute just by yourself to the Blood Maiden and get some extra loot for, you know, your troubles. We want to, you know, make sure that we give you a little bit extra because you're sacrificing up your hearts. But also, every player that it doesn't stack, so you're not, you know, stressed to say, hey, I just need to be the one that summons them all. We can all party up and just deposit our own Baneful Hearts.
Putting one each is the best strat.
The benefits of that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. To be clear,
so you don't stack all of them.
So if you put in all 3, you get bonus loot, right?
Correct.
But like you, me, and Colin are in a group, and like I put
this
in
is actually
2,
important.
and you put in 1. Do I get more loot than you?
No. So you get the same amount of loot. So, you know, if Colin has a Baneful Heart to deposit, and if we all, you know, dump them in together, then
we all
get the shared benefits of that.
Got it.
But
only
I
one
will touch
each.
on a bit later the PTR updates and just some of the enhanced value that the Blood Maiden received since PTR for both contributors and non-contributors to the summon.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah, so a lot of new stuff coming in for Helltide, and this is all part of the stuff that players got to experience in the PTR. And of course, we got learnings from the PTR, as you just mentioned.
Many.
Do you want to walk us through some of the changes that are coming in with Helltide for all the PTR feedback that we had?
Yeah, I think I have a PowerPoint of my own. There you go. Look at that.
Fancy.
Yeah, so, as mentioned, tons of sweeping changes going into the Helltides and just overall balance of the game in general at Season 4.
This is more cinders?
Kind of with
Okay.
that, sometimes, we push a little bit too far in some regards. So we did get feedback and also just own internal kind of field checks on the cinder drop rates were feeling a bit slow in the PTR. So we just went back, reviewed it, and gathered our feedback and just iterated on the drop percentage to hit closer to the expectations of how much we want to be collecting the cinders and interacting with the tortured gifts. So I think we're in a much better spot. I know we're in a much better spot right now, actually. So that was one of the first major pieces coming out from the PTR.
A lot more chests from this, yeah?
Yeah, chest, more loot, more fun.
Awesome.
Let's see, next one. Yeah, so on the topic of more is more fun, the Baneful Hearts, we were noticing that they were dropping a bit inconsistently. So you can get the Baneful Hearts from opening tortured gifts, killing the Hellborn, and one of the Doomsayer variants, one of our new activity types. But again,
so
we want to get the Baneful
materials.
Hearts in the hands of the players with a pretty steady cadence. So we noticed with the PTR that we're just not getting them as frequently as we wanted to. So we just went back, iterated, and kind of reviewed our bad luck protection to just ensure that we improve the consistency that Baneful Hearts are dropping. And this is all kind of like, the Blood Maiden is not meant to be seen as like this highly ambitious piece of content that you only engage with like once every 50 levels. We want you getting the hearts. We want you engaging with the social boss summoning mechanic. And I think it just adds that extra layer to the Helltides we want you to engage with. And on the topic of the Blood Maiden, overall, like we touched on earlier, the Blood Maiden is just seeing some overall rewards improvements. So, as noticed, or as mentioned before, if you contribute to the summon of the Blood Maiden, you receive a bonus reward. But one of the things was that you couldn't really tell. There is a little icon that appears like where your buff bar, but the effects of that was largely unnoticed from both the team and actually just the PTR players themselves. So again, taking this opportunity to just review the overall value of the Blood Maiden for contributors and non-contributors alike. Because again, we wanted to make sure that she has a clear role in the Helltide experience. So again, overall, Blood Maiden is just overall more valuable. With this, we're dropping things like legendaries, Forgotten Soul, Lore Zermats, and a % chance for contributors at the end world tiers to get some end game boss materials as well.
Yeah, so this is now like an additional opportunity for players to get additional of the boss mats for the boss ladders.
Yeah.
Which we've heard a lot about how players were like, hey, we only really have one kind of method to get them, and we wanted to expand that and bring that into more avenues so players didn't have to just kind of be like tunneled off into one area to get like specific boss mats, which is cool.
Yeah, variety is the spice of life.
Yes.
I like that the contribution encourages you to actually use these. In Season 2, I'd just chain summon the boss over and over and over, and there would be this awkward dance where someone would show up, and it's like, I know you have
the waiting game. Like,
use your material.
Yeah, and that's why it's really also important that the nuance is honestly lost pretty frequently when we're talking about like drops for different kinds of creatures in different sorts of situations like this. Like Treasure Goblin, we talked about Treasure Goblin a while ago, a few seasons ago, and I remember I put a poll out on X.com.
So
at one
weird
point,
to say.
basically, I don't know. I put a poll out basically asking players what they believed the legendary drop rate of Treasure Goblins to be, and I had a whole bunch of options, and I think like 85% of the players were wrong. And because the drop rate at that time was 50%, players didn't feel it because they didn't see the Treasure Goblin enough to really notice that it was actually that high. So I think making sure that like we were like buffing up those moments where like if I have my contribution bonus a little bit higher, that helps make sure that is felt.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what's funny is Joe talking off screen and we're all looking off and people are just staring us stare into this random corner and stuff. You know what would be funny is if we all just actually looked back there at Bale. We should play
every
that.
time.
Yeah, every time. And then like Joe's turned into Bale. Oh,
Literally coming in the corner.
Wow.
that's awkward.
That wasn't part of the plan.
I like the deep shadows.
That's where he is.
I guess the moments when I decide to say something, maybe they'll occasionally.
I was like, oh, we have another camera. Awesome. Cool. So a lot of Helltide changes that we have coming into.
Yeah, I think there's actually one more slide.
I'm pretty sure we have one more.
So one thing that we've kind of covered a lot across like just tempering and just the masterwork and just the spirit of Season 4 in general, just like removing friction points and just keeping players in the flow, the flow of fun.
People want to blast.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So one of the Doomsayer variants, and again, like the Doomsayer's new activity type, it's kind of like a Kinder Egg surprise where you interact with them, they crackle and pop into something, a variety of things actually. So one of the variants that we had was the Chest of Doomsaying, where they would explode into a tortured gift that costs 50 cinders and gives you a whole lot of good stuff. We're kind of reviewing that, and sometimes what can happen is you can encounter one of these at the very start of your Helltide run, and you don't have 50 cinders. It's not a lot to get, but it still is kind of a stressful, potentially feels bad moment. So we just said, hey, let's just have it explode into the loot directly. You save 50 cinders, and you kind of just keep going on your merry way in the tides. So that's one of the kind of like efficiency smoothing outs that we've done. The next one is also just, we're dumping a whole bunch of monsters on you, and it's always a feel bad moment when you get knocked out of an interaction. You're trying just to open up the tortured gift and head out.
That's why I like Flame Shield with
we
sorcerers.
reduced the channel time to open tortured gifts from 3
why not just
seconds
0?
to 1.5 seconds, I believe, for
But it's
season 4
fine.
launch
It's
proper.
not that big of a deal. It's definitely an
Well, like a
improvement,
lot, so-
but
And I think we'll address some feedback of like, why don't we just make it instant?
yeah, exactly.
Right. Yeah,
Exactly.
we kind of do want to safeguard against like the accidental clicks. Again,
Yeah.
it's a frenetic game, so you're clicking a whole bunch, and I think 1.5 seconds is enough time to let you make sure that that's what you want to commit to before you open it.
And there's also like because you guys can talk about this, there's changes to like the channeling, like I think with like dot damage and stuff like that.
Oh yeah,
Okay,
dot
that's
damage
good.
now won't interrupt channeling as well, which I think is a pretty good.
which is
Nice.
good. So
It
especially,
won't, or it
especially as
will.
you are in the frantic
I'm
areas
guessing
of
it
Helltide
won't,
and everything.
right.
So
Yeah.
Lots of Helltide changes, a lot of good feedback from players.
Okay, show me the season
Derek,
mechanic.
Thanks for walking through on that, but you're not done yet.
But wait, there's
do
more.
want, yeah, but wait, there's more. As you guys know, like there is, this is season 4.
Yes,
This is
show
Born,
the season
and
theme,
part
man.
Of Helltide includes the Iron Wolves, and some people have figured that out even before our blog on Tuesday.
Got
but,
Danaman a while back,
we
but
did want to talk a little bit about season 4 and the Iron Wolves' participation in that, along with some cool things that are specific to seasonal characters for season 4 as well.
Yeah.
Call
So
of the Wolves.
again, as mentioned, the players who joined us in the PTR, or again caught all the various blog posts, will notice that the Iron Wolves are now a permanent part of the Helltides. They're fighting and dying alongside the players now, and they're here to stay. However, for our seasonal players, we have the Call of the Wolves seasonal activity, where players will get to spend a bit more time with the Iron Wolves and go on a bit of a journey with them to try and uncover the potential root cause behind these rising tides and uncover this mysterious phenomenon that's threatening to corrupt and consume the Iron Wolves from within. In addition to that, again, the Iron Wolves are in the Helltides with you. As players are fighting and dying alongside the Iron Wolves in the Helltides, you're also going to be earning your way through the Wolves' Honor reputation system. And this is seeing you progress your way through a collection of just super juiced rewards that are specifically tuned to overpower your leveling journey from level 1
Oh, you can
to
see all the
100
rewards.
and beyond.
I'm gonna screenshot this.
Main pillar for this reputation track was really pushing the player's powers forward. The player power forward. There you go. The player's power forward, and giving them early access to gear with the juice stats, legendaries, materials, boss materials, and even a resplendent spark as like a cherry on top at the end.
There's like a couple unique
We love
items.
the juice.
We do love that.
It might just be a skin.
But in the spirit of wait, there's more. Those are all like the gameplay related things. But we also have a couple really cool cosmetics that you
that's
earn
probably
through
what it
the
is, yep.
collective Call of the Wolf seasonal activity. So this is the Iron Wolf Mount Trophy, the little Iron Wolf banner. And
Is that Lilith's hat?
But yeah, so the Iron Wolf Mount Trophy. We're doing it live here. That's
it,
earned
Hell
from
Maiden?
completing the there it is. You can get both of them. That's earned through completing the reputation track, and the Blood Maiden head
okay,
is
just
earned
moment.
by completing the associated Call of the Wolf quest line.
Awesome. Yeah, those look really great. And of course, as you mentioned, Resplendent Sparks. And then I know
You get a
there's
Resplendent
one
Spark
other
with that,
item
too.
that I know we wanted to talk about with this season specific, because it is specific for season 4.
Nick,
And
go over the power. What's the
yeah.
power?
Thanks for the reminder on that. There's so much to cover.
I know, I know. Derek has like the largest list of items to kind of go through here. So
Yeah, so as mentioned before, on the seasonal team, we love our experiments, and I don't think a season would be one without some level of experiment. So with that, we have the seasonal item, or as kind of like call it the seasonal toy, and that's the Profane Mindcage.
Okay.
Yeah,
Ooh,
so there
okay.
it is. So the Profane Mindcage is pretty cool in the sense that it's a guaranteed drop from the Hellborn, and when you consume it, I kind of like to imagine you just like eating this demon brain.
Okay.
Yum.
When you consume it for the next 60 minutes, the Helltide monsters
that's not really
are
giving
going to
you
be
power, it's
boosted
more
up to 10 levels,
drops.
depending on the world tier that you consumed it in, and you're also going to be increasing their aberrant cinder drop rates. So, again, all tying this back to that leveling journey and like tempering and stuff, like this is a really fun item that lets you kind of put your
want the
build to a
power.
little bit more of a test in exchange for maximizing your Helltide efficiencies through, just one higher monster level means more XP and stuff like that, and also just aberrant cinder
What if that
drops.
works in a party, or how that
And-
works in a party?
Oh, go ahead.
Oh,
Go ahead,
I was just
Colin,
gonna say we juiced the World Tier 2, 3, and 4 XP, so
Oh, that's yeah.
ties
Yep.
super
super well. You can just get to blast to endgame very quickly now.
Yep.
Yeah, and with the mind cage itself, like, because everyone's probably going like, well, that's a consumable. Like, how do people end up like obtaining additional ones of those, or can you get more of those throughout the season and everything?
Yeah, we want to be very generous with those. So one, they're a guaranteed drop from the
For an
Hellborn
hour,
in
too.
World Tiers 3 and 4. But you can also use them in World Tiers 1 and 2, so if you want to like boost some level, alts and whatnot. You also get I think like a bucket of them through the Wolves Honor reputation. Like we crammed as many rewards as we could in there, so they will be in steady stream. So don't, again, in the spirit of like use it, don't hoard it. Definitely experiment and have fun with this thing. 'Cause,
Yeah,
it's
you can
have
get
fun.
one an hour,
Yeah, so
like
it's
no
great. Like,
problem.
if you want a little bit more,
'Cause
of
it
a
lasts
challenge,
for
a little
60
bit better
minutes.
rewards as well. You can of course use your.
I wonder if,
your
like,
mind cage.
each
and that
person
is
pop ones,
exclusive
can we get
for,
plus 40?
Players in the season. So
Yep.
yeah, it's awesome to see. But yeah, thank you, Derek, for walking.
That-
through
that's
the
it?
series with Helltide, and of course,
No
some of
way.
The new season stuff with the Iron
That's
Wolves.
that's
And
it.
If you're a lore nerd,
No
Iron Wolves,
way.
of course, are a very familiar faction within Diablo. They are from Diablo 2, Act 3. You could actually hire them
So you get to-
as some of your
Oh, you can hire them?
mercenaries, or one of the mercenary options, though we know a lot of people went with an Act 2 mercenary in Diablo 2 for the aura. But yes, cool. Thank you so much, Derek. And of course,
What?
we still
No
have
way.
more
Okay,
to talk
okay, okay,
about.
okay,
We're actually
okay.
going to go back to Colin. And
I just
Colin
thought
is
that was the
gonna
guy
talk
for
us through a
season,
little
so
bit
that
about
was
the
it.
Pit.
'Cause if that was it,
Pit is a brand new
no
feature
point in making
within
season
Season
character.
4, and is now a permanent feature within
is.
Diablo 4.
That's right.
And
'Cause if Pit is
yeah, do you
permanent,
wanna,
Helltide's
give us a
permanent,
breakdown for people who
why
may
make
have
a new
not experienced
character
it or
other
may
than
have
like
not
10
seen
levels of
the
Helltide?
stream
That's it?
beforehand.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, tell us about all the improvements that we're doing to the Pit
Absolutely.
based off of
Okay. Let's
Yeah,
go.
so
New
you
Pit.
know something that players have
New
asked
endgame.
for since we did a bunch of nerfs to the nightmare dungeons. If you recall, I forget what season it was, but we made tier 100 nightmare dungeons a lot easier, so players could get through them. One of the big pieces of feedback we got was, okay, well, where's my measuring stick? You know, the game is a power fantasy. It's about getting as much raw power as possible and just dominating, right? So if there's no place to push back, then everything is just a little bit too easy. So the Pit of the Artificer is our answer to that measuring stick. You're going to be able to push very deep into the pit. There's a lot of levels. We were inspired by Abattoir of Zir, but to be very clear, Abattoir of Zir was a special case in that each tier jump was just like brutal.
it. It was
right?
like exponential.
Yeah, it was like ridiculously hard every single tier, and it's like, you could only get to 7, which isn't very heroic or powerful, right? So we've taken a lot of the learnings from Abattoir of Zir. The pit goes very deep. There's many more tiers. It's much more gradual, so you can start pushing into it and getting some of these masterworking material.
Oh, it actually tells
rewards.
you
And
what
the
tier's
pit
giving
is
what.
all about
That's
just
pretty helpful.
blasting through monsters and the demons of hell, right? There's no negative modifiers. We're not CCing you a bunch. This is really just a test of how powerful your build is. So from the PTR, we actually got feedback that it was way too easy because we added a ton of power through tempering, through the Codex of Power. It's just much easier to get a lot of those aspects online. So we've taken a look and we've moved some of the masterworking material tiers around. Previously, the tier 1 masterworking materials only came from 1 to 20. We've moved that up 10 tiers. So tier 1 will come from 1 to 29. Tier 2 will come from 30 to 59, and tier 3 will be 60 plus. And what that does is it just makes the journey feel a little bit more rewarding, right? Like we saw in the PTR that people just like within the first 2 hours just blasted through all of it because they're so powerful. So we've just adjusted some of the rates there. So you have to push a little bit deeper. You have to optimize your build a little bit more. So those armor caps are things to watch out for, right? Where if you're over the armor cap, it's just a straight optimization to start thinking about how you want to replace some of that armor. We think that feels pretty good. And overall, we've increased the health and damage, or sorry, I should say, increased the health on all monsters post level 100, both in the pit and nightmare dungeons. So the enemies should be pushing back on you a little bit more, right? You care a little bit more about utility, defense, outside of just one-shotting everything, right? So it sort of tests you a lot
Unless
more.
you're the barbarian cap. I feel like that class is
and
just still
part
going
of
to
that
be
feedback, though, that we've heard is that
super
nightmare
strong.
dungeons don't feel very rewarding. The pit doesn't feel super rewarding post, that 60 tier when you're getting those top-end masterworking materials.
greater affix drops,
So
hopefully.
we've done 2 major changes.
Okay, let's see.
One is we've added obols that scale with both of these tiers. So everything past tier 46 in nightmare dungeons and everything past tier 1 in the pit. Actually, it just always gives you obols. You might ask, but obols are terrible. But again,
Good. At least he understands
I know,
obols
right? A
are
big part of
terrible in the
season
game.
4 was that we made the gambler guarantee 925 legendaries at level 100, and those legendaries can roll greater affixes. So if you blow a ton of obols on two-handers, for example, those two-handed legendaries you're getting are the same as anywhere else in the game. So it's actually a huge efficiency boost to getting the items you're looking for.
So to be clear, you can get some of the best items
Oh,
in the
yeah.
game
You can
from
get-
the obol vendor now.
Absolutely.
So that makes them a lot more valuable.
And one thing that is also changing with obols is because when people pick up obols, they're like, I
We
forgot
need
my
higher
cap.
obol
And,
cap.
Yeah, you're
now
probably
I'm
someone's
I'm I
typing.
run back to town. and
But
do-
Colin, the obol cap is fucked. So we've increased the obol cap substantially. So
Oh,
the amount of obols you
thank
get now is
you.
2,500 you can hold up to.
Oh, yeah.
So you can just
That's
go to
basically
the
a full
gambler
inventory.
and give me everything, and you can just do that a couple of times.
Yeah. So get your obols and hit the tables. Pretty
Yeah,
much.
yeah, exactly. And the items are incredible.
And just to double down on this for a second too, one of the things that we also did as part of this, when you use the enchanting feature in Diablo 4, you can't actually enchant off of an affix into a greater affix.
That's right.
Yes.
So when a good item drops for you in the base game, you can't try to roll for greater affixes off the enchanting system.
Yeah.
It's good for getting you to a stat you really need in a situation where an item didn't get you what you wanted.
Yeah.
But now with the obols vendor, those items, not only are they iPower 925 and they have the chance to be legendary, of course, like the obols vendor always has. But you also have a chance to get greater affixes
That's right.
off those gambled
It'd be
items.
cool if you could get
So
an
if you
Uber
are, again,
unique.
if you're looking
That'd be
for
just
a particular pair of gloves,
even
or
if it's a
a
low-
particular
low
helmet,
chance.
you're saying I really want a greater affix version of cooldown reduction on my
That's right.
helmet. Right, now it's okay, cool. I'm going to take my 2,000 obols. I'm going to go to the vendor. I'm just going to gamble, and try to get that one helmet.
Yeah.
Now I have a chance to really do that, and this is a way for you to getting more drops and such inside the pit is one thing, but giving you more choice.
Yeah,
when you
I
get
think
out
that
of the
would be
pit
actually
run,
huge.
I think it's very, very
Yeah.
valuable.
Nice
It's
change.
gonna
Yeah.
feel way better. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, and another change we made was to Glyph XP. We got a bunch of feedback
Yes.
that's like, God, what the hell, Nightmare Dungeon. So we've increased the Glyph XP by 25%, which is faster leveling. And we've also scaled the amount of rune shards, which is the pit currency to get into the pit, with Nightmare Dungeon. So you can create sort of a positive feedback loop if you're really strong, you're really powerful, you're hitting those tier 100s. In the Nightmare Dungeons, you're getting tons of pit keys that you can then translate into the pit and just get lots of runs and lots of masterworking there.
Yeah, so a lot of feedback from Nightmare Dungeons. People were saying hey, are we planning on making any changes to that Glyph XP? And
Yep.
so there are
sure
some.
did.
We sure
Yeah.
did. We actioned on it for sure. So and there's funny enough. There's also even in the season journey, I believe there's also a changes to the ashes themselves where you can actually use that to boost even the Glyph XP is also part
Yeah,
of
so
that.
I think it's
with
25%
the season
additional?
journey. So
if you get
very
50%
cool.
more Glyph XP.
Oh, that we have
One more. Sorry.
But where's
more.
but the season mechanic?
I don't actually read
Is
it.
the
But then
mind
you-
cage in?
Yeah, sorry. The one other thing that we did was we heard a bunch of feedback that players were dying at the end of the pit because we have this.
Yes, the shadow
boss
clones
that
does
sometimes
way
comes
too
in
much
and throws
damage
a
at
wrench
one
in what you're
shots.
doing.
Everything,
And,
even at
as
50k
much as
plus
I push
HP.
for learn to play, our encounter
I
designers.
like to get good.
Yeah, get good.
Absolutely.
Take
It was
that,
hilarious.
hardcore players. Surprise.
Yeah. Yeah. Isn't it fun to die after you killed the boss? Yeah. So our encounter designer did an amazing job cleaning up a lot of those affixes after you kill that boss. And
Yeah, just make one of those bubbles
As,
work too. That would be
as
good.
chat says, get good.
that's
We saw that a lot, and if you're a hardcore player, that would have been a tragic loss to your
Yeah,
character.
yeah,
I prefer the word hilarious.
Yeah, some designers like fist pumping, like yes.
Yeah, just watching streams and reactions from that. So awesome. So a lot of changes coming for the pit. Pit is, of course, a new feature within Diablo 4 permanently, and you can experience that in Eternal and Seasonal realms. And, of course, we have some updates to the boss ladder, because the boss ladder itself is changing pretty significantly. We talked a little bit about like how you can get additional materials in other places that Derek had mentioned.
Is this new?
Colin has additional like points that he wants to bring up about
talk about
the
Gauntlet?
boss ladder, because we got a lot of feedback on that, and there's some new changes to it with Season 4.
Yeah, so we added Endariel, the best lesser evil.
Yes.
Yeah.
Boo, Asmodan.
Yeah, I
boo.
know. Yeah, always dunking me.
Dancing with orbs all day. Who likes that guy?
Yeah. So Endariel, obviously, has come back. She's incredibly fun to fight. The encounter design team killed it. And on top of Endariel, we've added a new tier to the boss ladder called Tormented Bosses. So these are much higher level than level 200 bosses, sort of pinnacle aspirational bosses to take down. And what we've done here is we heard a bunch of feedback that
No, it's good. We're going to be one-shot them.
5 times the amount of boss materials, including some rare pit material to summon these, and 5 times the reward. That didn't really feel like the right amount
so
of
it's not
reward
the- it's not
efficiency
the
for
amount?
taking on something
Yeah,
that was
this is good,
challenging.
this is
So
good.
we've nerfed the cost. It's now 3x the amount of boss material and 5x the reward. So you can get some pretty big
So it's
efficiency
always
boosts there,
better.
especially if you're crushing
Always
them.
better to do these. Good,
So
because
that's
the
feeling pretty
old
good,
one didn't make
with them.
sense.
We also heard a lot of
Thank you.
feedback that it's tedious to do the same activity over and over and over to summon some of these things, right? So it's like, I want to summon Penitent Knight, or I want to do the Beast of Ice. I know you and I have done that one, like,
every
hundreds
build
of
I've
times.
chosen in a season
Yeah,
requires the Beast and Ice, and
It's like, I guess I'm
just
doing
stuck in
another Nightmare
Dungeon
Dungeon.
hell forever. It's
Yeah.
been great.
Yeah. So,
Convert
we made it
materials.
better.
Let's go.
A lot of our random, monsters and activities and things like that. So, elites, whisper caches, treasure goblins,
All
world
buff?
bosses, Hellborn, to name a few, are all going to start randomly dropping these boss materials.
Oh,
so,
okay, cool,
you know,
cool.
you're not necessarily forced into doing one exact activity. It's still going to be the absolute best way to get some of this boss material. But as long as you're blasting, you're just going to be getting a lot of these materials.
I like the
immediately, which is
terminology this
great.
guy's using. I
Just
feel like
sort of
Colin's
cashing
been
at your heart's desire.
huge
And
for
we
the
think this
team.
makes the game feel more flexible and just sort of enables you to play a
This
little
is
bit more on
awesome.
how you want to play while still keeping the experience fresh. So we think that's going to be a pretty big win.
Yeah, it's huge.
Yeah.
But the season power for the season is just crazy,
Jump around
like,
a little bit.
it's
we heard a bunch of
non-existent.
feedback, especially from Yugioh. Hopefully he's watching. Is that
There's
the
no
bosses?
way Woody Joe's watching
I
right
know,
now.
probably not. Yeah, it's not very interesting. We did some tuning to make sure that the tormented versions have some more parity, right? It was sort of like in a scenario where like one of the ladder bosses was just like dead easy, didn't really match the difficulty of the rest, and that's important because we give you one guaranteed resplendent spark one time for defeating any of these. So one step closer to getting that uber unique that's not just a raw drop of your choice, which is pretty awesome. And then something else, speaking of resplendent sparks, we're adding one to Uber Lilith. So the first time you kill Uber Lilith, you're also going to get another resplendent spark.
So now that brings us to 3 opportunities of being able to earn yourself a resplendent spark. We heard one from Derek at the end of the season.
Look at that account. It's got 200.
Board and doing that within the season. We now have one with the Echo of Lilith, and of course one with your first tormented boss as well. So
Okay.
additional opportunities to earn resplendent sparks, and of course you can still salvage your any Uber gear
right.
that you do happen to find,
Yeah.
and you can actually earn a resplendent spark.
Yeah.
that
So
way.
what that means is if you do all of these and then you get an Uber unique, you can actually change that into whatever one you want.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is really what that means.
And then something else, on the Uber uniques is that
I'm just laughing because I didn't realize this, but chat's calling out with our tooltip that we showed. We had 200 plus resplendent sparks.
Yeah, they're
That's
just
what
free
happens
now.
when
We're
you
just
work-
really
yeah,
lucky
we're
and
just-
good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder if they just put that number in.
Tools.
Yeah, that's actually my account online. So,
Oh yeah.
so on the Uber uniques,
It still feels bad,
heard a
though.
bunch of feedback that it feels like a chore.
Yes,
to do,
thank you.
the
Please
Penitent
change
Knight
it.
into Varshan, into doing Duriel, just for a chance at an Uber unique, right? And we've experienced that ourselves, right? It's like, God, I got to do all this stuff to fight the boss that's going to actually drop something that I care about. Greater Graphics has helped that because there's some variation to the uniques you're going to
Yeah,
get.
and uniques
But
are
for
definitely
Uber
nerfed,
uniques,
for sure.
We've actually added a small chance, a little bit lower than Duriel, to all of the ladder bosses, and they're going to have a chance to drop an Uber unique as well. So while you're grinding through this ladder,
It's half,
every
by
single
the way,
boss
if you want the
kill is gonna
number.
have a chance
At
to
least
drop
that's
an
what
Uber
I've been
unique.
told.
It's not exactly the same as
from themselves.
Duriel and Dariel. We should do like a combo.
0.5.
A lot of Uriels.
So it's
and
don't expect it, to be honest, though.
Awesome. So yeah, a lot of changes coming with boss ladder and changes based off of PTR feedback that we saw.
Yep.
Plus just overall changes for season 4 that we were planning, so that it's gives more opportunities for players to actually experience it. And of course, the new versions of the bosses themselves and the tormented echo versions. So. Awesome. Thank you so much, Colin. Of
course.
I still want to see more stuff for this season.
Before we jump into Q&A, because we...
What? Q&A?
What
For the season?
Mr. Adam Jackson wants to talk a little bit about...
So the only new thing is the mind cage.
This is
Yeah.
actually something really cool.
One last thing.
This
us
is it.
over on Class Designer, we're really passionate about this and we're excited for it. So the season journey. So we really want to kind of juice the rewards and make the season journey more
Thank you.
exciting.
I've been
And so
telling
what
them
we
that as a
did
partner.
was, when you're going through the season journey for every class, you're actually going to be getting a preset, curated amount of legendaries as you're going through that are targeted toward a specific build. So we chose a build for every class in season 4, and we're going to change it around in future seasons. Please
Okay,
give us
so you
feedback on this build.
No,
because
that's
it'll be
good. That's
pretty
good.
cool.
It's basically
But you're
like
basically gonna
Hadrian's
get,
gift, right?
Close to a completed build when it comes to opening those
Okay,
caches.
cool.
They're guaranteed targeted legendaries to build a specific fantasy for every class. I think we have a video to show what they're going to be for every class.
Please be frozen over for Sork.
Maybe there. So Barbarian here, you can see we're going to be giving you a bunch of legendaries related to Dust Doubles.
That's good. That's the best.
The Druid, we're going to be giving you basically a pulverized build.
It's an old build, but it's still
pretty
good.
cool.
It's one of the best beginner-friendly builds.
Next is the Necromancer. Of course, everybody's going to be
Oh,
playing
that's
minions.
huge.
So we gave you a bunch of minion-focused legendaries. It should be pretty awesome.
That is really good.
And then next is the Sorceress. We actually have a cool new legendary coming into the game for Incinerate, which you'll see here.
Yeah,
it splits up. So
if you guys want to open shotguns, yes, but it's not realistic. Don't even bother.
And then the Rogue,
I'll be
we're
honest.
giving you one targeted toward Barrage. So again,
So it
kind of
can
the point of this
ricochet.
is that, if you don't really know what you want to play, or you really want to just go through a season journey and try out something before you go to a build that you really want to do, you have a foundation of something more.
So
complete
Barb and
to start
Necro are
with,
the best
which
starters.
We're pretty excited.
That's
about.
my suggestion
and
for
with
you
the codex
guys.
change now, you also get to collect all those items are actually dropping out of the season journey caches. You get to kind of keep those. They're all going to your codex. You can use that build through the entirety of your leveling process.
Correct.
Yeah.
Awesome. So lots of changes coming this season. Sorry, my mic died halfway through there, so I had to do a quick mic swap as we were playing.
We were
footage.
free from
Also, Joe Pipor's back. Hi, Joe. Derek is now over here. So if people are confused of what's going on, we are playing musical chairs today. That is also a new feature coming in season 4. I'm just kidding.
Okay. I guess we're going to go into Q&A.
Yeah, so a lot of changes. Season 4, pretty huge.
It's
by
basically
far
the
biggest
eternal
season,
changes. It's not even
for
like
Diablo 4,
a
yes.
crazy seasonal power,
and
though.
I know we wanted to jump into Q&A.
That's crazy.
I did want to bring up one thing as well.
Let's see if it-
Okay.
Which is, this is a change that will be represented in, by the way, patch notes are coming out immediately after this.
Oh, hell yes, dude.
okay.
So that's
Oh,
one thing. So
that's
people can
amazing.
check out patch notes immediately after the stream.
Please enjoy reading it as much as we enjoyed writing it.
Writing it and reviewing it and
reviewing
editing it.
again.
And I wouldn't, based off of the size of the patch notes, I wouldn't be surprised if we do have a few things that might be missing that we'll probably have to post.
Okay, I'll cover it for you guys. I'm going to make a summary video, and I'll tell you everything.
Massive in terms of size, as people saw from PTR.
But
and
rip
now it's
the
just even
elemental
more.
damage aspect, or temper.
Yeah,
That was
so,
one thing that was gonna be
but,
pretty strong.
Patch notes will be up. One thing in the patch notes that I did want to bring up
gone
is,
now.
this is a thing that's coming in season 4, is for players that want to change their hair on their characters themselves.
Oh,
They
you can change
actually
your
go
hair
to
now.
Wardrobe now and actually be able to do it, which is a nice.
Oh, is it? Hopefully it's free. It doesn't require
A
battle
lot
net
of
tokens.
people go like, hey, I kind of want to, I made that character a while ago, especially like an Eternal character or something like that. I'd like to be able to
that's
change
cool.
that around. Yeah, I now have that flexibility of being able to do so.
As long as it doesn't cost platinum, I think that's awesome.
We're going to jump into Q&A.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and
as
end it
usual,
here because
as
that
we
was
always
Helltide
do.
and the new season mechanic.
We will start off.
I may make a video on Q&A if it's worth it, but let me know, guys, what you think of it. I just think the season, to play on the season, it almost seems pointless as of right now. I'm going to go check out the patch notes and update you guys. But anyways, drop a like on your way out, and I'll see you guys in the next Diablo video. Peace out, and let me know your thoughts.